Hello, everybody. Today I'm talking about Rahu Ketu and 2021 and the powerful role Rahu Ketu play in 2021. I'm continuing with the series about what to expect in 2021. So Rahu Ketu remain exalted throughout 2021. So they are very dominating. They will also be creating a Kal Sarpa Yoga. So what to expect? Hello, I'm Komilla Sutton, and we are talking Rahu Ketu in 2021. And do remember to subscribe and press the bell notification. And also, I want you to be aware of my conference that I'm having from 21st of January to 24th of January. This is a global virtual conference, and the topic is Rahu Ketu. Because Rahu Ketu was so powerful, they are exalted in 2021. I decided to have this conference so that all of you can listen wherever you are. More details to follow. I'm making a separate video just about the conference, but you can check it up on my website, komilla.com, and the dates are 21 to 24th of January. So let us talk about Rahu Ketu and their power in 2021. When we are studying Rahu Ketu, we know that they are the most powerful planets in our horoscope. And the reason is this, that Rahu or Ketu are the only two planets that have the ability to eclipse the sun. And sun, of course, is the light, and it represents the center of the universe for us. So therefore, when a planet is able to eclipse the sun, therefore he is even more powerful than the sun. But Rahu Ketu, they are shadow planets, and their impact is a lot it is psychological. So we have to understand their role. However, 2021, they remain exalted throughout the year. And therefore, they are generally in a good mood. Secondly, Jupiter will be aspecting Rahu. Jupiter is going to be in Capricorn, so it casts its aspect. So tries to control the more negative qualities of Rahu. Whenever Jupiter aspects Rahu, whether it is in your chart or by transit, that means Rahu is under good influence, and therefore Jupiter has the ability to control it. Most of the year, Jupiter will be aspecting Rahu, except from April to September, when Jupiter moves into Aquarius, and then after 19th, 20th of November, again when Jupiter moves into Aquarius. So for quite some time, Jupiter will be aspecting Rahu. And this is a positive aspect for it. And therefore, Rahu is not only exalted, Ketu is exalted. These Rahu Ketu come into their exalted positions once every 18 years. So this is a rare transit of their strength. And what we have to do is we have to understand their power and understand that we should learn to work with them. I have noticed whenever the malefic planets, and Rahu Ketu are both malefic, are strong, they are very demanding on us. They expect a certain behavior, a certain way to deal with it. And so therefore, if we discipline ourselves and we learn detachment, detaching from our desires, our things that are creating negativity for us, if we learn to detach from those things that are not so good for us, and focus on the positive elements, then you can see that this transit can be very powerful and useful for you. I'm going to make a separate video about how the planets affect everybody. So that is not today. Today we are talking overall impact of Rahu Ketu. Then wherever Rahu Ketu are, whatever sign they are in. So Rahu is in Taurus. Ketu is in Scorpio. Rahu is exalted, Ketu is exalted. They both get exalted at the same time. So Rahu will transit back to Rohini Nakshatra and then move back to Kritika Nakshatra. Ketu will be transiting through Jyeshta and then go into Anuradha. And finally, it will not actually reach Vishakha this year. So both Rahu Ketu, they are usually at the exact same degree. So Rahu will start 2021 at 24 degrees of Taurus. Ketu will be also 24 degrees of Scorpio. Then it will retrograde back to 5 degrees of Taurus Scorpio. So that is the range of this journey in 2021. Now, if you have planets placed in either side of Rahu or Ketu, you can expect that those planets will experience some change, transformation. And most important, you have to watch out is that whenever Rahu Ketu are in certain signs, that is pinpointing to us that the eclipses are taking place in those signs. So Rahu is in Taurus and Ketu is in Scorpio. So when Sun goes into Taurus and there is a new moon or a full moon, then we will have solar eclipse. So there's a degree, 18 degrees from the full moon and 11 degrees from new moon that the eclipses are taking place. So once we know where Rahu Ketu are, we can identify where the eclipses are taking place. So the sun will go into Taurus at around 16th of May and remains in Taurus till 15th, 16th of June. So during that time, only the eclipses will take place. And that is the first set of eclipses that take place. And they will be in Taurus. And then because the full moon will be in Scorpio, the lunar eclipse will be in Scorpio during those dates. Rahu being in Taurus on 10th of June 2021, there will be a solar eclipse there. That is a new moon date, and 26th May 2021 will be a lunar eclipse. The solar eclipse is always quite intense. However, this year, the solar eclipse is not on any other important timing. So this year, 2021, the solar eclipses are like normal eclipses. The solar eclipse is visible in the Arctic. So the rest of the world will not experience the solar eclipse, and nearer the time I'll make a separate video about the solar eclipse. And what you have to remember is that there is some change of energy. Lunar eclipse is on 26th of May. So that is at the full moon in Scorpio. So whether you have planets in Scorpio or in Taurus, those are the areas of transformation that is taking place. What are the main things to watch out? You want to see if you've got ascendant in Taurus, sun, moon. Those are the three most important things. Other planets also get affected according to their signification or sign, house position. Or if you have sun, moon, ascendant in Scorpio. So those are the signs that are most affected. And that means that you are facing some transformation, change. And how you handle it, this is most important. The next set of eclipses are in November, December. 19th of November 2021 is a lunar eclipse, and that lunar eclipse will be in Taurus because by November the sun has moved into Scorpio. And then we get the second and the last eclipse in Scorpio, which will be on 4th of December. That eclipse is visible in Antarctica. So one of the things I'm thinking is with the eclipses visible at Arctic and Antarctic in 2021, global warming will be a big issue because the ice melting and the glaciers melting, and this is something that we can consciously do. Individual person may not be able to change it, but as a group, if we decide we are going to pay extra attention towards global warming, about the ends of the world, you could say, in a way, and to pay attention, to make donations, to make effort yourself, I would say that is the message of the eclipses. The lunar eclipses are visible almost throughout the world. There is the lunar eclipse of 26th of May, and 19th of November is a partial eclipse. So that means that the world will be experiencing Taurus Scorpio changes, transformations, and those are the dates to watch out for. Normally, what you need to do is to put these dates in your diary to know that the overall energy is disturbed. And the eclipse season usually lasts from the lunar eclipse to the solar eclipse. It's about 15 days long, and that is the time you're being extra careful and restrained about any choices you make. Now, because Rahu Ketu are dominant forces in 2021, they're not necessarily in a negative mood, because Rahu and Ketu are both exalted, and exalted planets always exercise a powerful influence, but they are malefic by nature. So they're demanding that we behave ourselves and we do the right thing and to enjoy the experience. If we are afraid and worried and anxious, then we are not able to enjoy the experience. Now, however, one important, maybe destabilizing time for Rahu Ketu is the Kal Sarpa Yoga by transit. Whenever Jupiter, Saturn are one side of Rahu Ketu, then Kal Sarpa is easy to happen. So at present, Jupiter, Saturn in 2021 are going to be in Capricorn. And Rahu Ketu are in Taurus Scorpio. So when the faster moving planets move one side of Rahu Ketu, then Kal Sarpa Yoga happens. And then Kal Sarpa and Kimadruma Yoga, that means half the month Rahu Ketu are controlling the planets, and the other half the moon is isolated. And this Kal Sarpa Yoga starts when Venus goes into this axis. Although Venus goes inside Ketu from 30th of December, because moon is still outside, the Kal Sarpa Yoga only begins on 10th of January. And then we have this intermittent Kal Sarpa Yoga, Kal Sarpa for 15 days, Kimadruma, moon isolated for 15 days, then back again right up to 28th of March, when Mars comes out of the Rahu Ketu axis, and therefore breaking the Kal Sarpa Yoga. And then the other planets also come out, and we have the Kal Sarpa broken. The thing for all of you to remember about Kal Sarpa is that this is a global phenomena. So mostly we will see political situation unstable. However, sometimes, you can see financial issues becoming dominant, or last year it was the pandemic that Kal Sarpa created the imbalance. Every time there's something different. So it could be general, fear, anxiety, what is going to happen. So what is our responsibility during Kal Sarpa is to keep ourselves in balance, in harmony, restrain ourselves, to know that the energy is topsy-turvy. And depending on what is happening, we are being cautious in making our choices. It's not that life doesn't go on, and Kal Sarpas are quite common. They happen, as I told you, when Jupiter, Saturn are one side of the sign. So they're going to carry on happening every year. So this is part of our life and how we have to deal with it. So because Jupiter, Saturn are together for the next few years, and they will only, then Jupiter will get out and go the other side of Rahu Ketu, that we are not going to experience them. But experiencing them and how we react to them is two different things. So knowing that this is unstable energy, to be extra cautious about it. And this is one of the reasons that I also thought during this time to do my conference on Rahu Ketu. So do remember to look it up on my website, because we'll be talking about all the Rahu Ketu issues there. So 4 days of intense Rahu Ketu experience and learning. So this Kal Sarpa Yoga I've watched for years. I remember Kal Sarpa Yoga was happening when the demonetization happened in India. So many times there's political upheaval. Although classics don't talk about Kal Sarpa, but by experience it is very important. And our reaction to it is not to be afraid or worried, but to know that it's easy to get imbalanced. So choices we make, we take care, and then that is important. Then you also want to see that by transit, generally, Rahu transit is much more positive. Wherever Rahu is placed, Rahu is going to give opportunities. Unless Rahu is exactly going over one of your planets. Actually, when Rahu is going over your planet, it's a 10-15 day transit. It can create a lot of confusion, and as if you're living in some kind of darkness, or you don't know what is happening. So if you know that you're getting a Rahu transit, you're being conscious that this transit is happening over my planet, and during that time I'm being cautious and careful. Of course, you are watching the eclipses. If the eclipse is exactly connecting to your planet, then of course then that is a more intense experience. Otherwise, these are overall, wherever Rahu is, I would say only for Gemini, Rahu is in the 12th house, so he's creating a lot of expenses there. And he is for Libra in the 8th house, so that is unexpected transformation. 8th, 12th house Rahu is more complex. But and then Ketu, where if you have ascendant, sun, moon, or other planets in Scorpio, then Ketu transit between 24 to 5 degrees, because remember, Rahu Ketu move backwards. So you are keeping a watch out. Exact Ketu transit, I find, is always very expensive. It can be some demand for money, or some people wanting part time from you, or relatives will come and be difficult during that time, because Ketu is a past life planet, and when Ketu comes calling, he can bring some of those stresses, and it is important to watch. I find Ketu, you want to reject everything, you want to give up everything. So if Ketu is going over your ascendant, your Scorpio, if your ascendant ruler, if you have planets in Scorpio, what houses they rule, you are careful. Again, 7 to 10 days before the exact transit and 7 to 10 days after. Those are the important factors for it. And as I said, I'll make a separate video for everybody on how these planets are affecting you. So these Rahu Ketu transits, of course, Scorpio is 12th house for Sagittarius, and 8th house for Aries. So Sagittarius, Aries, both, this is more complex transit for you. So be careful of your expenses for Sagittarius. Aries, a sudden transformation, because the eclipses are taking place in your 8th house. Watching them by transit as they go. Main thing with Rahu Ketu we are watching, even though they are strong and powerful, is that we should be careful that they are not giving us unnecessarily worry or scare, and we are not feeling anxious. Normally what happens with Rahu Ketu is that you can be quite okay, and suddenly in your mind you start having doubt and worry, and you're always trying to overdo things. So the biggest mantra for Rahu is restraint, that you are being careful, restrained, and especially I said during the Kal Sarpa timing, where Rahu Ketu are cutting the world splintered into half. So we can feel very imbalanced at that time. And so we are taking extra effort to counteract that energy, and certainly not making any important decisions. Now, however, it's a long time. You can't just give it up. So you have to see in your chart what dasha you're in, what are your exact transits, how your ascendant ruler is doing, what your moon is doing before making the full decision. And as far as remedy for Rahu Ketu are concerned, the deity for Rahu is goddess Durga. The deity for Ketu is Lord Ganesha. And Lord Shiva can be also worshipped for them. So if you want to do a spiritual remedy for them, then you can do the chanting, you can do puja for goddess Durga. There are certain temples that are directly connected to Rahu Ketu worship, like Sri Kalahasti in Andhra Pradesh, beautiful temple there. But these days with the pandemic going, it's not so easy to go to the temple, so you can do yourself wherever you are, you can do the mantra practice. So the more practical remedy for Rahu Ketu is to exercise restraint, exercise detachment from your weaknesses. Careful about making choices when you are anxious. Practice of yoga, alternate nostril breathing exercises, these are very good to calm your mind down. And a bit of meditation, studying spiritual texts. Also, focusing your mind. Rahu Ketu are very difficult on the mind. So even though they may not be directly connecting to your moon, you can do things that your mind is occupied, and be careful about that. And of course, you can think about doing the chanting. So Goddess Durga chant, Om Dum Durgaye Namaha, Om Dum Durgaye Namaha, Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. And for Lord Ganesha, Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, Om Rahuve Namaha, Om Rahuve Namaha, Om Rahuve Namaha, Om Ketuve Namaha, Om Ketave Namaha, Om Ketave Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om. So doing the chanting, it's a very nice thing to do. You can spend some time doing 108 times Om Namah Shivaya. You can do 108 times Rahu or Ketu mantra alongside with the Durga and Lord Ganesha mantra. So these are very good remedies for you to do. And most important thing is this: keep yourself active and busy. And Rahu Ketu are very efficient. One of the things I found going to Rahu temple especially was the great efficiency there. So we can organize ourselves, be busy, so that the mind doesn't have much time to wander. And then you are really doing a good remedy for the Rahu. But most important is that they are actually strong, and they are whenever a planet is strong, he's in a good mood. However, if you become too dominating, and then they always, sometimes people become too powerful. That is difficult. So during the Kal Sarpa, you're taking care. So that is it. I will be making a separate video of how they affect you. All the best. Do remember to subscribe, press the bell notification. Thank you.